Today's video is sponsored by our good friends at Famous Faces and Funnies, located in Melbourne, Florida. Check us out. Also, our friends at Docking Bay 94. Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of Codename New 202. Hi, I'm your presenter, Shabu Are You. Now, this could be perhaps one of the easiest, but at the same time, one of the most difficult videos I've had to make so far. That statement kind of segues into what a lot of us Gen Xers are feeling about the current state of Star Wars. Now, this month has been really important because earlier in the month we had the release of a whole bunch of action figures and toys in anticipation for the final installment of the Star Wars saga in The Rise of Skywalker. And this past week, we had the final trailer come out. So, the Star Wars machine is chugging along. Now, I'm going to pause here for a second because I'm going to go in, I don't really want to rehash some of the stuff I've said in other videos, but in a nutshell, I am not a fan of what is currently going on with the state of Star Wars. In my opinion, and again, if you are a fan, if you're enjoying everything, please go on and enjoy, have fun. I don't want to take that away from anybody. This is America or the rest of the world, unless it's a Wahhabi controlled area. Most of the world is free. People are free to enjoy what they like and dislike what they like. So I don't want to infringe on their right to do so. But I believe that things have gotten progressively worse since Disney acquired Star Wars. I wasn't too keen on The Force Awakens and all the way to the heartbreak of The Last Jedi. And I said I was literally heartbroken. But during this whole process, I've kind of weaned myself off of Star Wars, and it's hard. It is one of the hardest things to do because as a lot of Gen Xers that grew up in the late 70s, 80s, I love everything Star Wars. I mean, it's like, I think Star Wars, He-Man, Dukes of Hazzard, Voltron, G.I. Joe, all those things that us Gen Xers hold dear to our hearts. But Star Wars is extra special because, let's face it, everything on social media or whatever, technology, what comics, everything started from Star Wars as the origin source. So, we owe a lot to Star Wars, there's no denying that. But it's just one of those things that the marketing side of it, and being an auditor and an analyst, you see this clear as day. It's just one of those things that I'm just disgusted with it. I am not a big fan of Celebration. I think that in itself is the evil empire. I believe that Joe Con in the past, is more of what Star Wars fandom used to be like back in the day. Like an old guy. But seriously, that feeling that comes from Joe Fest or Joe Con, and G.I. Joe people will definitely know what I'm talking about. It's just that camaraderie, that community aspect of it. Star Wars doesn't feel like that. It feels so corporately run and organized, and it's become to like, if you don't, like, you must like Star Wars. Like, it's like, whoa, like, why? I have more respect for people that don't like Star Wars, than those that do. And also the fact that everybody and their mother buy Star Wars toys for the monetary value of it. Oh, this will pay my kids' tuition. Ha 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 ha. That is disgusting. And you see that, Now, I talked about the release of the figures that came out earlier in the month, and I'm sure a lot of people are on their second or third of a particular figure. QSNO.
3 of each. 1 to display, 1 to open, and 1 just in case.
Why?
Now, typical to recent form, Hasbro has released the vintage collection to go along with the new characters. Now, these new characters, I think there's a Carrie Russell, who's like a bounty hunter, and there's an African American girl riding a mammoth. That just shows you how much invested I am with Rise of Skywalker. There's a part of me that doesn't want to get hurt. You know, that's exactly what I'm going through. I don't want to get hurt like I was with The Last Jedi. So I'm more excited about the movie Midway than I am about The Rise of Skywalker. But well, these new characters, will they have the same impact as Rey, Poe, Finn? What's the girl from Jurassic Park who played that commander in The Last Jedi? Rose and Benicio del Toro's character. All of those, I'm sorry, suck. And it's funny because you see them all still on pegs in certain stores. You know what I think would be funny? If 20 years from now, those characters will be worth something because nobody bought them. I think that would be the most ironic thing in the world and hilarious, quite frankly. But these new characters, it's like Disney's forcing you to like them because there's a political agenda onto them. And I don't like that. And I'm saying that as a minority. So what's the point? What's wrong with liking something just to like it and having fun? And I talk about that in my comic recaps. You know, this book is fun because it doesn't buy to this SJW stuff that, you know, a lot of people are talking about. It's just good because it's true to the character and it's fun to read. So that's why I recommend those comic books. But like I said, I wean myself off of Star Wars. But Disney knows this, and Hasbro knows this, and that's why they're so damn evil. And I'm going to tell you why. I've seen everybody post their pickups and stuff, and I'm happy for them, you know. And I'm like, I'm not interested. Whatever, I don't care. I'm not interested. But then I'm walking in Walmart, and I just walk by the toy aisle, and I pick up a figure, put it down, come back another day, pick the same thing up. The 9-year-old in me is screaming, this is cool. This is so cool. But the analyst and the auditor in me, the professional in me is like, no, this is damn right evil. And I've done this maybe like 5 or 6 times. And then I got it. I feel so disgusted with myself that I got it. But the 9-year-old in me is screaming, wow, this is a red stormtrooper. How cool is that? The 9-year-old in me won. And Hasbro and Disney are counting on that. That's why they released the vintage collection. There's a Luke Skywalker X-Wing pilot. I mean, yeah, I love my X-Wing pilot. And I have to remind myself, this is my X-Wing pilot, not that one. But still, I bought this. So one of the first things I did is I messaged our good friend Michael from Retroblasting. Michael was disgusted with me, but I felt like I had to because I didn't want to be deceitful. I slipped. And that's why I'm making this video, because it happens to the best of us. It happened to me other times as well, as you've seen in previous videos. And it wasn't by like me planning like a lot of people do now with these release. There's been such a backlash with the Black series have been really disappointing for the most part. But, you know, there was 2. Well, I talked about the Bespin Han which I think is a beautiful sculpt that looks like Harrison Ford, and the hot Leia, which looks like Carrie Fisher. But for the most part, the Black Series can be summed up by this: Slave Leia. All the attention, but look at this face sculpt. It looks like she's constipated, or, one of those disinterested strippers or something like that. I don't know. But this is terrible. But that's majority what the Black Series is. So it's kind of difficult to, it's just kind of hard to cut that off totally. And I guess it would be like a alcoholic going to a cocktail party. It's a difficult thing to do, but you slip. And so I'm here to confess that I slipped. Now let's look at some of these figures, and I'm sure this is nothing new. There's crap load of video, but for the sake of this video, let's look at some of the figures that have been released. I felt so terrible of what I had succumbed to that I had to confess to Michael from Retroblasting. Kind of like a kid taking a cookie from a cookie jar before supper. Well, Michael was disappointed. He also added that the only way is to actually preview these figures. So, as part of my punishment, here we go. So, there are, I guess, 5 new characters mixed in with the vintage characters. This Sith Jet Trooper, you know what? I can't do this. The 9-year-old in me just instantly grew up. Now I know why Michael wanted me to go through this. I mean, come on, just look at this Black Series. I mean, is it me or didn't they already release this red Stormtrooper a couple years ago? So it's kind of, and then another Kylo Ren, another Rey. The Mandalorian. We gotta give props to that, and also the new toy video game. There's a character to promote that. So we have, Disney is good. They're touching base on everything that they're going to shove down our throats. So that's a good thing.
Is that I've already lost, this figure's already lost its luster. I mean, it only held my attention for less than 24 hours. But look at these old figures. I mean, that's a lifetime that they have captured my heart and imagination. And that's something that Hasbro and Disney cannot do, in my opinion. They're not able to recreate that. As much as they try, all the marketing, all the marketing, that'll never happen. They can never recreate this. And for us, I guess for those that trick themselves with thinking that they can, the truth is, like an addict, you have to kind of take a step back and realize that, hey, I have a problem. And, like I said, I've pretty much gotten...
So, once again, I'd like to thank Michael from Retroblasting for helping me just get regain perspective of everything. And if you're looking for a review of these figures, I apologize. There's plenty of millennials out there that have Star Wars sites or channels dedicated to this. Even though they weren't around, when we grew up, they have, several 100,000 subscribers, and they'll probably be a lot better. Here's the thing is, I'm saying Disney is evil, but that's tongue-in-cheek. They're not doing anything that, any other company wouldn't do. That's just the business of it. But as us, as GenXers that grew up, it's tough to separate your head and your heart. And there are times that, one does slip. I took a position with the sales barge, and that is pure evil, But this, if you enjoy these figures, you have every right to enjoy them. But for me, for a lot of us, it's a slap in the face. I could see on the auditing analysis side of it, and I also look at it as from my heart and as a fan. And it's now where that side is taken over, the analytical side of it is taken over from the childlike love. And that kind of sucks. That's taken the fun out of it. So for me, like going into G.I. Joe, I still have that. You know, here's something that has yet to be, it'll never be as big as Star Wars. So to look forward to these Joe Fest and JoeCon, I mean, JoeCon is done, but looking forward to going to Joe Fest so I could experience the community. Because really, that's what fandom is about. It's not how much this is worth or what this is going to bring me or whatever. It's connecting with other people, making new friends, sharing an experience. And that's why I love the G.I. Joe community and other things like Thundercats, Voltron, so on and so forth. I just believe that Star Wars has gotten too big, and it should, because it's owned by Disney. And I just feel like my time is over with. So, this is Shabu RU, signing off.